If Cassandra Bell had known how the morning would unfold, she would have chosen comfort over presentation. At 71, she usually didn't mind dressing the part. That day, however, she'd selected her polished black heels over her usual loafers, thinking they might send a message that she still meant business. But as the hours ticked by, all they really gave her were aching arches and a growing sense of unease. It had been a quiet morning in Portland, Oregon, the kind where drizzle clung lazily to car windows and sidewalks shimmered under gray skies. Cassandra stood beneath the metallic awning of the Meriden corporate complex, holding a slim, weathered leather folio under her arm. Her outfit was conservativia navy blazer over a cream blouse, a modest skirt, and that pair of once trusty heels. Everything about her presence was purposeful. She wasn't here to impress. She was here to contribute. Inside the building, the lobby gleamed with sterile modernity. Glass walls stretched to the ceiling, reflecting rows of Scandinavian-style chairs and minimalist light fixtures. The scent of printer toner and eucalyptus oil mingled in the air, intentional, no doubt, part of the firm's image. Cassandra approached the marble reception desk where a young woman with airbrushed makeup and thick-framed glasses sat typing with an almost mechanical rhythm. "Good morning," Cassandra said with quiet confidence. "My name is Cassandra Bell. I have a 10 o'clock appointment with Mr. Trent." The receptionist looked up just briefly, long enough for her gaze to flick over Cassandra's outfit. Her hair natural gray waves pulled back neatly in, then back down to her monitor. Without smiling, she picked up the phone, muttered something inaudibly, and nodded. "He said he'll be right with you. Please have a seat." "Thank you," Cassandra replied, and moved toward the chairs by the wide windows. She placed her folio gently on her lap, crossed her legs with care, and gazed out at the soft traffic crawling through the rain. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Important people run late, she reminded herself. Her experience on school boards, in church finance committees, and decades of public service had taught her patience. Punctuality was admirable, but not always realistic in the world of meetings and priorities. 20 minutes in, she returned to the desk. "Just wanted to make sure, Mr. Trent still expects me," she said, with a pleasant tone. "He's just finishing a call," the receptionist answered, her voice smoothed over with professional glaze. "He'll be right out." Cassandra thanked her again and sat back down. But the air felt different now. A subtle shift. 2 young men walked in nearly 30s, fresh suits, umbrella drips trailing behind them. They barely finished shaking off the rain when the receptionist stood up, grinned wide, and offered them coffee while escorting them inside. Cassandra blinked, adjusted the folio, and told herself not to jump to conclusions. But something tugged at her nerves. She noticed the others walking through. Mostly younger, mostly white. All of them greeted promptly, ushered in with warm familiarity. None of them sat as long as she had. Still, Cassandra sat poised, shoulders back, chin up. Her late husband used to say, "You never let them see you sweat unless you're mowing a lawn." The ache in her left hip reminded her this wasn't a lawn, and she wasn't 20 anymore. She shifted slightly, but kept her face composed. If anyone looked her way in, she doubted they did see a woman dignified, waiting. As the hour mark approached, her patience stretched thin. She rose, slower this time, walked again to the desk. "I hate to be a bother," she said softly, "but it's been an hour. Should I come back another day?" The receptionist looked startled, as though Cassandra had materialized from thin air. "Oh, I was just about to finish. Just one moment." Same words, same smile, a polished echo. Cassandra returned to her seat without replying. She looked down at the shoes her daughters, originally. They had been worn once to a wedding. Now, they pinched her toes with relentless determination. A janitor pushed his cleaning cart past her, a man perhaps her age with creased hands and a gentle gait. Their eyes met. He nodded once, not rushed, not rehearsed. Cassandra returned the nod with a faint smile. That human connectiona, tiny thing meant more than anyone in that lobby probably realized. The doors swung open again. This time, the energy changed. A tall woman in a sharp navy pantsuit entered, her posture commanding attention. Cassandra recognized her instantly. Elise Choi, Executive Vice President. Her name was well known in education and community development circles. The receptionist stood up so fast her chair scraped. She offered coffee, water, herbal tea. Elise waved it off kindly and headed toward the elevator without missing a step. Cassandra sat straighter, adjusted her scarf. She didn't have Elise's stature or title, but she had something else: legacy. Decades of advocacy, insight, and a long paper trail of change. But here, she remained invisible. At least for now. At 11:30, she stood one more time. "Understand things are busy," she said gently. "Perhaps today isn't the right day after all." The receptionist's mouth opened, fumbled an excuse about scheduling confusion and meeting mix-ups. Cassandra gave a polite nod and returned to her seat. Her fingers tightened on the leather folio, knuckles paling. She thought of her husband again, how he'd said, "The way someone treats those they think are unimportant reveals who they really are." At 11:55, the doors opened once more. This time, 5 people entered, each one radiating that quiet intensity of decision-makers. Heads turned. The room shifted. Cassandra recognized one of them immediately: Dr. Lenora Fields, a leader in public health policy. And next to her stood Damian Worth, president of the entire firm. As they passed the lobby, it was Lenora who paused first. "Cassandra Bell?" she called out warmly. Head swiveled. The receptionist froze. Damian's face lit up. "MS. Bell, what a surprise. We were just discussing your recommendations from the statewide task force." "Brilliant work." Cassandra rose slowly, graceful as ever. "Good morning, Lenora," she said evenly. Damian reached out with both hands, clasping hers. "An honor," he said. "We're heading to the executive lounge to finalize our engagement plan. Would you join us?" "I'd be delighted," she replied. Behind them, Mr. Trent emerged from the hallway. His face was pale. He took one look at Cassandra, then back at Lenora and Damian. His mouth opened, then closed. "MS. Bell, I sincerely apologize. There was a miscommunication." 2 hours is a long time for miscommunication," she said. Not angry, not cruel, just true. Lenora raised an eyebrow. Damian frowned slightly. Trent looked like he wished the floor would swallow him whole. Cassandra didn't need to say more. The room had already pivoted. She stepped forward beside Damian and Lenora without a glance back. Inside the executive lounge, the atmosphere changed entirely. Here, people leaned in when she spoke. Her voice mattered, not for decoration or diversity metrics, but because what she offered was necessary. She answered questions on equity models, civic outreach, sustainable funding, questions asked in earnest. At the end of the session, they handed her a folder, Strategic Vision 2026. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't a photo op. It was a real invitation. By Friday, an offer was formalized: civic engagement consultant. With full advisory power, Cassandra would guide strategy, community investment, and mentorship, especially for younger professionals, especially women of color. She didn't take the job to prove herself. She took it because she had already proven herself 100 times over. When her appointment was announced, the memo was brief. Cassandra Bell, senior consultant, community engagement, effective immediately. It was short, bold, unmistakable. Mr. Trent was reassigned quietly the following Monday. No press release, no explanation, but the silence said everything. About the patterns, about the forgotten resumes, about the women who'd waited politely in lobbies far too long. This time, someone noticed. This time, the building inhaled and finally let something stale go. Cassandra didn't do interviews, didn't post about it. She simply began. Her first staff roundtable was packed. Curious faces, nervous ones. Some came out of obligation. Others came in hope. She opened her folder, looked up. Leadership, she began, isn't about rank. It's about presence. It's about who you see before you're told who matters. You could hear breath catch. No one moved. Then she told them about 1979, about standing outside an office in New Jersey, folder in hand, and being turned away by a secretary who hadn't even checked the list. She'd mailed in her proposals anyway. Months later, they'd been adopted without her name. But I stayed, she said, because someday someone would see us. The ones who wait. That meeting set the tone. Cassandra's presence rippled beyond titles. Interns spoke up. Memos changed. Hiring panels looked different. Decisions grew slower but smarter. Change didn't roar. It tilted. And when things tilt, gravity does the rest. A year later, a soft-spoken intern named Amaya stood outside the same building. New, nervous, holding a folder. A senior manager opened the door. "Are you Amaya?" She nodded, startled. "MS. Belle asked me to greet you personally. She's expecting you." Amaya turned toward the lobby and saw her. Cassandra, standing by the elevator. Still, present, powerful. She nodded. It wasn't just about one morning anymore. It was about every morning after.